Hello, I'm back again. I know that I've been absent for a few weeks. I've been in North Carolina with Russell and Lori, but I'm here now and maybe we can. I've been thinking about how to organize and do uh, some of this so that it makes more sense. I know the last one that I did was about mine and Kamari's courtship and then our marriage, our wedding, and the big cake that we have. We moved after we were married. We moved into what we call the shotgun house, and I talked a little about that. But we had a circumstance that I wanted to start because Smoky is an integral part of what I'm wanting to do with all of this. And so we're going to go back and bring some of his stories forward and maybe progress on them. And some of these you've heard some of it. Maybe we can add a little to it. Uh, anyway, that's what we're going to do. And so when Kamari and I got married and made it back to the farm, not long after that, I made a deal with Dad to buy Smoky from him. I traded Mom and Dad a matched pair because they were wanting to ride in some grand entries at rodeos and parades and whatnot. And I really wanted Smoky. And I had worked with Smoky to have Dad get used to him. And but if you'll remember, and I think I've told this, that I bought Smoky when he was 2.5 years old, never been touched by a human hand as far as I knew, and what the neighbor that I bought him from told me. So I went over to get him. Now Smoky was a stocking-legged, ball-faced chestnut. Stocking-legged means he had white from the knee and the hock down on all four legs. And the front of his face, he had a wide white stripe, a bald face, if you will, and a good-looking colt. So I was going to go over and just put him in a halter and put him tied to the saddle horn and break him to lead on the way home. But when I got over there and I got him caught, the people I bought him from had some friends in from out of town, and they knew I'd been riding in some rodeos, and they wanted to see me ride him. So I snubbed him up and put a saddle on him and got on him because I figured might as well do it now as later. Remember, I was a young, tough cowboy back then. That's the way I looked at myself. And you broke horses, you broke them, you didn't train them. Different scenario. Anyway, I rode him and he bucked around with me a little bit, and I thought, you're not going to buck tomorrow, you're going to be too tired. So I rode him about 25 miles that afternoon and around the countryside. We had dirt roads everywhere, and so it wasn't hard on his feet. And so when I came home from that, he was doing really well. And I put him away, and then the next morning when I walked out of the house, you could see the corral that he was in from the back step. And as I stepped out of the house, he was down in the corral bucking. I'll swear to this day that he was practicing. And I will admit that there was a cold front had come in overnight, which made him feel good. And all of you that have dealt with livestock know that they buck and run when there's a cold front comes through. So it wasn't all just practice for me. But I took him and I rode him that day, and he bucked when I got on him after I'd spent quite a bit of time sacking him out and playing with him, but he still bucked. And so that day I rode him 50 miles, rode him 25 miles away from home to Tuttle, Oklahoma, ate lunch at a Sonic drive-in, rode him back. And that's what I did that summer is I broke him to ride. 6 days a week, sometimes I rode 7 after I went to church. I grew up in the Southern Baptist Church there, First Baptist Church in Newcastle. But Smoky was my project, and Dad was wanting to be able to ride him. And so toward the end of the summer, he only bucked with me for about 2 months. And then after that, the last month that I had him before I left for college, we were just working cattle with him and training him and that sort of thing. And you've heard a story or two about that. But I'd finish him, and then Dad would get on him for 5 to 15 minutes of an evening and ride him around. And maybe if we were out working cattle, I'd trade with Dad, and so that Smoky got used to him, because Smoky really wanted to be a one-man horse. Dad had a horse when he was younger that he called Smoky, that looked just like him, and that's where I got the name, from the stories that Dad told. One of the stories Dad told about the early Smoky is Dad was hired by a man to herd some cattle over a summer, and this was a young horse that Dad had gotten, and Dad took the cattle out east of Norman to an open range situation, and Dad followed the cattle, took care of the cattle. He only saw 2 people in a 3-month period of time. So he and the horse had gotten really acquainted. And that particular horse, and this may be on another story somewhere, but anyway, Dad, when he got back, would bet his friends that they couldn't get on his horse, because the first Smoky, would snort and rear back and buck if somebody tried to get on him, and that's the way this Smoky was. But I came home for Thanksgiving for the first time from school, and when I got there, Dad was riding Smoky out in the yard, and I said, "Oh, Dad, let me on." I said, "I haven't been on a good horse since I left." He said, "He's not going to let you on," and sure enough, he bucked with me as I stepped in the saddle. But I like that. And so I traded Dad the match pair for he and Mom, and I took Smoky up. Well, Kamari and I have started a stable, training jumping horses and training students, particularly Kamari, and I was doing some training on horses for people. And that's how we got started with the horse world, was with her students, and I love the jumping. Jumping gave me somewhat the same thrill and fun that I had in bucking in the rodeos. Some of the same motions, actually. And so you have heard some of those stories, but we're going to put together a group of them on Smoky and take him maybe up to the final days. And I will attach some pictures on the back of some of these videos that will give you an idea of what he looked like and what he could do. If you like these stories, subscribe and share them with other people. Send me comments. I love the comments that I've gotten, and I appreciate those. Have a wonderful day.